sweetest time and the most valuable time I have is the time that I have with my kids. And they're little and they're growing fast. And my 5-year-old she's going to be with us, 10 or 13 more years, 15 more years tops. A quarter of her life is with us is already over. So I definitely want to be able to spend as much time as I can with them and be fully present and just turn off the tech. Like, it doesn't matter if I make one more sale or have one more dollar. They'd be just as happy swimming in a Holiday Inn swimming pool on vacation as staying at the Ritz or staying on a yacht. They're just happy to be swimming or doing something fun. And I have to remind myself that they just want to be with me. They want me to watch them do their thing and see them twirl or spin, just be present.
Daniel Dye, thank you for joining the Invested Fathers today. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I have 2 small kids, and today's one of the days when they're in school from 9 to 1. So I got this quiet house and sitting in the home office. So it's nice to have a moment with pause on the chaos.
That happened to me yesterday. It is actually very rare for the house to be quiet, and we homeschool. I typically working from home. I'm in the library today. When I tell my wife, hey, could I get an hour with a quiet house? It's like weird. So I hope that you can enjoy some of the
other than
quiet.
Dog. If I have the door closed, so like he's very vocal. So unless he walks by, we should be good.
Got it. Dan, we've known each other for years. So our history is we refereed sports together, but we have a lot of mutual friends. And I love that we reconnected over this topic of fatherhood and business. Tell the audience, what is your business?
Yeah. So right now I'm actually building a little tech startup. It's called Supermoon. The idea started from years of using enterprise software in small businesses. My last company was a web design agency that I built with my cousin, Nathan Duvall. It's called Gruffy Goat, and he actually bought me out last year. So he's running that full time now. But we always had used enterprise ticketing software. We're paying $100 a seat to have multiple teammates use a fraction of the features. And we just always were a little frustrated by it. So started to build a new product. We were a development shop primarily for larger marketing firms. So we were that back office support, and was able to reconnect with an old friend who had been more in tech, Silicon Valley tech. And then we were building this agency, and we got together and started Supermoon, which is basically a customer support app that uses AI to build an AI knowledge base, or kind of an AI brain for a team that learns all the ins and outs of your communication and allows you to respond to support inquiries in multiple channels, all from one inbox. Let's use an example as a small Shopify store. You are probably responding to customers on Instagram and Facebook and email and live chat. When it's just the solopreneur or founder or just a couple people, they're usually logging into all those places. Building a simple solution that allows them to have all that in one place is what we set out to do. And so we built that. It works. It's out there. We're building it and growing. We would say the TLDR is it's basically building a platform that helps simplify customer support with AI.
Cool. Wow. I'm leaning more into AI now than I ever have been. And I feel like there was a little bit of a resistance to it. When did you cross over into AI as what we need to be doing?
I don't know. I was always curious with it. Like when GPT kind of came out, and there's been AI stuff around for decades, and large language models and AI, the phrase AI was coined like decades ago, but GPT kind of made it palatable and easy to use and gave it to the common man, which I would consider myself one of those. I just started tinkering around with it, thought it was pretty cool. And the fact that we were managing support for other creative agencies, we were just answering it was usually like the same 8 to 15 questions just over and over again. And once I saw that this can give a consistent human answer and capture the tone from the incoming message and respond, it seemed like the most basic use case to build something that kind of helped other businesses implement functional AI into their business quickly. That was probably the first interesting thing when I saw, okay, this can actually save businesses a ton of time on repetitive tasks to get those off their plate so they can actually focus on building their business.
That's really, I feel like people that see those patterns of like 8 to 15 questions and realize like we could build something here and then find a way to do it. It's very powerful. Like just solving the problem through technology and getting a team together. So kudos, dude, on all the background that you talked about. And something else that we talked about before we hit record was just your interest in buying businesses. Tell us a little bit about that. I want to hear, is that something that's an entrepreneurial, I feel like, mindset? Is that something you've always been doing, or when did you start doing things like that?
Yeah. So, and I think in the buying businesses is more of a goal that has grown over time, where I've done a lot of startup investing, and I love getting to meet founders that have a really cool idea. And I actually really the super early which is probably the riskiest part of you have a great idea, you have a few customers, you're just now getting started. And startup investing has always been really fun. It's pretty risky. I've had two now that have sold or paid back. Since then, I have multiple open ones that are just ongoing. I love the idea of finding like an established business that's been in a family for several years and the owners are retiring or trying to get out of it and it's making money, it's making some take home money. I love the idea of like being able to buy a business like that, put a really great operator in there, give them an equity stake and a good salary and be able to build a portfolio of simpler businesses or boring businesses, whether it's a service-based business or a home business. I think especially here in Greenville, where I live, it's growing a ton. There's tons of housing. So anything that's adjacent to building homes, people moving to a space, I think there's all kinds of opportunity there.
Mm-hmm. Cool. You had mentioned the kids. And do you guys homeschool? Is that right?
So they're both young, so they're not in actual school yet. So they're just like a daycare, mom's day out thing right now. So it's 3 days a week. And yeah, in the mornings gives my wife a break from wrangling them. She's doing that full time and she works part time as well, but it gives her a little breather since that's her main, she takes the lead on that.
Yeah. No, I think the dynamic, and this is, the heart of the conversation I want today is how are we doing as dads? And everything you just said with the business, which I think is its own fascinating, you said we could talk an hour about the different nuts and bolts and in the weeds of the business stuff. What are we doing that matters at home? So tell me a little bit about what's it been like thus far balancing both work and fatherhood and maybe some lessons learned.
So I actually turned 40 this month. I have younger children than most of my friends my age. My wife and I have been together almost 15 years now, but we met and first 10 years together, we pretty much just worked and traveled and did all the fun stuff. And then I think growing up there, it's always be careful because you're having a kid too soon or whatever. And so when we decided, hey, let's try to start a family, we had quite a few challenges with that. So we had a long fertility journey and we actually helped with a local nonprofit that kind of helps women that are going through dealing with infertility or infant loss and things like that. So it's something that's very important to us. Eventually we were blessed with 2 children after multiple miscarriages and a hard journey there. I think through that process, after working in more of a corporate HR role for several years in various roles there, job I really enjoyed, I got to a point where I was like, all right, I've enjoyed working for these other people and making other people a bunch of money. What does it look like to build my own thing, do my own thing? And honestly, there was definitely I can go make good money doing this, but I think the flexibility, not having to answer to someone else, like where I was, what I was doing, like when I knew I was working hard, not having to spend my time answering questions that really didn't need to be asked, I think was a big catalyst for me to say, all right, how do I build my own thing? How do I do my own things? In a lot of ways, it's harder to have your own business, especially being kind of more in the general technology space. Being able to always be accessible or always plugged in has its downsides. Whereas I think there are days when I kind of wish I had a 40-hour-a-week manufacturing job where I clock in, do my job and clock out and don't have to think about it again until the next day. Mm-hmm. So I definitely have enjoyed building. I think the flexibility that I've been able to have as an entrepreneur, especially in this tech space, has allowed me to be more present and pick the time that I'm home. I might work at some total of more hours than a normal job, but I'm able to pick when those hours are. So if it's early in the morning or late at night, one thing that's very important to me is at the end of the day, most days, if I can come home 5:30, 6 o'clock, I take off the Apple Watch, take off the phone out of my pocket, put everything in the office, and then just go play with the kids, have dinner with the family, help get them to bed. Usually at that point, my wife's ready to have an hour to herself so I can go back and work again, get caught up on stuff, schedule things to send out the next morning. I'm not giving the appearance of being infinitely accessible.
Yeah, I think the freedom of time and just that transition is very pivotal in a lot of entrepreneurs. And I've been full-time real estate investor now for three and a half years. I left my previous W-2 job when my daughter was born. I'd done this on the side. I think I can do it full-time now, but I just continued to revel, I guess, in the like washing the dishes or like doing breakfast with my son or, my wife's feeling really sick. So like I help out for an hour or two. Like when I can do those things, it's like living the dream. So it's really interesting to hear you started more or less 10 years enjoying your wife, enjoying work, not having kids in that way, and just enjoying each other. You scratched a little bit on the infertility, and that sounded like, was that one of the, I guess, of your journey? That sounded unexpected.
Yeah, that was definitely unexpected. We didn't have any like big plans. I had one sibling growing up. She had 2. I think she would love to have 3 kids. I'm good with 2. So I think at a point we were just, this isn't what's supposed to happen, then that's okay. Had a great time together. But then I think at a point when you have loss, and there was definitely like an element of not being competitive because that sounds weird, but I was like, I really want to like see what it's like to like, get to have a kid and raise a kid together. And at first I don't think I cared, or I wouldn't have said I was like, I wanted to have children. Now that I have kids, I'm like, this is the best thing ever. This is way cooler than going to Turks and Caicos. Turks and Caicos is awesome, but I love having a kid. It's just the best, especially now they can communicate back. I have the best time. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. And something that I also feel like is interesting on the show is the dynamic you said of I was tired of working for someone else, making someone else money. And I felt like I could do this on my own. Was there a specific pain point that happened where you were like, this was like the turning point for me when I decided like I was ready to do my own thing and maybe take that risk?
Yeah, I had been at my company, and I'm close friends with the founders and owners of the other company. We ended on really good terms, but I had asked, hey, is there an opportunity here for me to buy in, own more of this company or do something? And they'd said, oh, we'll consider it. And I think at the end of the day, they had decided it was a family owned business. They decided to keep it in the family.
Mhm.
And so I said, okay, that's great. I've learned a ton here, but I think I have this little itch I want to scratch. And the other big thing was kind of being in more the creative web space. We had just gone through a pretty large marketing project where we were paying a marketing agency. It was probably like 10 grand a month or something. And we spent the first 5 months just building a website. And I remember thinking like my cousin, who ended up being my business partner, was building websites on the side, like really affordably. We just spent 50 grand building like a 25-page WordPress website. And part of that process was sitting in a conference room with 8 people arguing about what color yellow a button should be on the webpage. I literally want to jump out the window right now. So I called my cousin and I was like, how much would you charge for this WordPress website? And he goes, I don't know, like a couple grand. And I was like, okay. So there's a gap here between 2 grand and 50 grand. So we literally started, I was like, what if we just double the price? You keep the 2 grand you're used to getting. I'll get whatever I can sell it for, or we'll split it or whatever. And we did that for a few months, just nights and weekends. And after a couple months, we're like, okay, this could be a thing. I had this cool opportunity to build something and I saw, hey, this could really work. People need this. And so we had a very simple, just like organic growth trajectory too. It was very like year 1, we made 350 grand. Then year 2, it was like 500,000, and then 700, and then 1 million, then 1.5 million. And it just was very slow, organic growth, nice margin. And we had a lot of fun. At the end there, we got to where we had a pretty well-oiled thing running. We're making good money, having fun. And my wife actually came to me and she's like, you're really liking this, but I feel like you're not really challenged anymore. Like you're either going to get bored or just make like toxic life choices. So you probably need to find something really.
One or the other. It's got to be one or the other.
You probably need to find something that like really intrigues you and makes you have to really work at it. Because otherwise you're going to start getting bored. And I think that was the case for me. And so I talked to my business partner and we had started it was a different name at the time, but what would become Supermoon. And he ended up saying, you know what? I really like this business. I want to stay in it. Can I buy you out? And then, so he bought me out. We had 2 companies, Superfly and Gruffy Goat. So he bought me out of Gruffy Goat and then ended up building Supermoon full time with someone else.
Cool. And I really love that your wife, who is your companion, someone who sees you when doors are closed, she knows how you're wired here. And sounds like that advice was like resounding. Like, yeah, you're right. I need to do something. I need to make a move here. So let's use that same itch, if you want to call it that, or restlessness, curiosity, Dan here, with raising your kids. Because I love the correlations that happen. Business-minded Dan and then like fatherhood Dan. How old are the kids now?
Yeah. So right now they're 3 and 5.
Okay.
So the 5-year-old just learning how to read and write, and she's the more compliant, calm, kind one. And the little one is just like the fiery, will just run you over, and she's hilarious and sinister. And I love them both immensely, but it's just so funny.
I'm right there with you. I have an 8-year-old, our gentle giant policeman, daddy's mini me. And then our 3-year-old, who is, we call her the destroyer, will run around with a knife, will jump off countertops, runs right in the street. Like everything that we're telling her to not do is what she's doing. So let's talk this. And you're starting to see, I think you had said she's starting to interact more, like there's more engagement. Has there been some like really cool, I don't know if it's like aha moments or like favorite moments that you've seen the role of the dad being like very important? I can't just like wing this. I can't just show up now. I have to like be intentional about this type of role. You mentioned like the phones and like the unplugging, but any stories pop out as something where this is what really matters, and maybe a story around that?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a good one. I think so. A couple things. One, being in tech, I'm on tech all the time, and I notice they want to do what I'm doing, obviously. So, not making a conscious effort to not keep my phone when I'm home with them, not always have my phone out or be on it or whatever, because then it's for them, it's I don't ever want them to be like, okay, his phone is his most important thing or better. And I struggle with that. It's a constant battle. And we also limit their access to technology because I want them to get dirty and play outside and do all the other things. I feel like the more tech people I'm around, the more they limit tech because they realize like the downsides of that versus people who maybe aren't in tech probably are a little more comfortable with their kids having more tech time. So that said, when I build something now, or like even this app we're building or like some versions of the app we're doing, it's really fun to be able to give it to my 5-year-old and say, hey, try this. Tell me, see if you can figure this out. What is this supposed to do? And if she can figure it out at 5 years old, to me, that's a really great litmus test of, will an older person be able to do it? Will anybody be able to pick this up and just run with it? Or is it too complicated? Because it's insane to me how quickly, even like on an iPad, she knows how to send a voice note to her grandmother or how to FaceTime me when if she's earned like a 15 minutes or 30 minutes of, she'll call me sometimes just like, what are you doing? Where are you? How are you doing? Or if I'm traveling for work. I love being able to see where the interaction or where the crossroad is at that, but I also like them to know that this is not the end all be all. It's not the most important thing being on tech or having tech or doing whatever that is, but being able to see it as a tool and see that you can talk to your grandma, you can talk to me when I'm traveling, or like get to see like the benefits where it helps add human connection.
That's good. What matters? I'm actually really into this topic right now because we just went through this, we call it our video game fast, where my son didn't play. When I say video games, Super Nintendo, like preloaded 15 game thing, not a Switch. It's very low graphics, but it was becoming an obsession. And we played like once or twice a week. What has your wife been an advocate of that? Or have you seen like the downsides of like screens? I don't know, just any more on that topic?
So the older one, I can say, hey, you can watch this one thing or you can play this one game. And when you're done, bring me the iPad back and we're going to put it up. And she does it without question every single time. Super compliant. The little one will sneak in somewhere. I walked back one time and she had the TV on some very violent, like a 300 or some Gladiator or some movie. I don't even know how she found it or got it on that. And she's just standing there completely enthralled with, there are these soldiers just fighting each other. And I was like, how did you even get on this? And anyway, thankfully we didn't have any nightmares. Right now, the little one, if she has a little bit of tech and you take it away, it's harder for her. So we've limited even further with her because we're like, if you can't turn it off or we can't unplug, we're not going to do it at all. We're not going to be trapped in this endless cycle of you have to have tech, but we just don't need to do that at this age. I think it's small amount. It's fun. It's nice. Obviously, when you're busy, it's nice to be able to throw the kids in front of a Paw Patrol or some show for a few minutes. So
yes, we know that well. Yeah. I'm going to shift a hair here. Time management, time protection, value of time. So you are seeing the need that you could lean into your job in regards to massaging the windows of time that you have control over. To other people out there who have plenty of passive income or money or whatever it is that like they feel like I don't really need to work, but I like working. And then the family comes in. What's your mindset right now on where you go from here? Like you're 40 years old, you sounds like the last 10 years have just been more or less a grind, but you started a family. The next 10 years, what are some maybe goals, aspirations, things that you're looking at as maybe some shifts in the business as well as like fatherhood stuff?
Yeah, I love that question. We've had a couple of people try to buy our current company, and it's more they want the people that are working for us. They don't really care about the company a ton. People are looking for talent in the AI tech space, and they're looking for however they can get. So we've had conversations where people are like, oh, we'd love for you to come out and join our team, and we'll pay you all this money. And sometimes they want you to relocate. I think where I'm at today, I care very much to be around family. If somebody wanted to offer me just insane money to move somewhere else, I probably would choose not to do that and to find something local I could do where I can be around grandparents and my in-laws and all the cousins. To me, that's taken on a way higher value than it would have before kids. Before kids, I'd have moved in a heartbeat. It would have been fun, been an adventure. So when I'm thinking about the next 10 years, I think what I want is it's crazy how much you alter your life to align with your children's interests, even when they're 3 and 5. So like,
I was gonna say, I don't think that stops. My kids aren't old enough yet.
So I think this is just a great hub for work. I get to travel to a lot of places and mostly big cities, but it's always fun to come back to Greenville. I really like Greenville, where we both live. I have a great appreciation for being around family now, especially with the kids, and seeing how their grandparents love them and how they love to be with them. I think for social development, it's so valuable for them to be around that support system that we have here. So for 10 years from now, to answer your question, I care very much that I'm working in something that's intriguing, where I'm learning, where I can be wanted or needed. I think that's a weird thing that I've noticed over time. Like, I really want to feel relevant to the space. Like, I want somebody to want me around in tech or in startups or in market, social media, whatever. It's a lot of people right out of college in their 20s or 30s. Like, now you start getting into 40s, 50s. It's okay. You're not going to necessarily be up on what's the coolest TikTok trend or the coolest whatever. So I'm definitely energized by being around like the younger, driven thought leader type people. I think it's a lot of fun, but I still want to be able to bring some kind of real tangible value in those situations. I also have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder all the way back to when I was a kid, and realized I had a great childhood. I grew up, my family moved a couple times, but I had a good experience. No major drama from my childhood or anything, but I always had this. My dad had started a couple construction companies, and I saw the highs and lows, ups and downs of that. And I also realized how much you could do if you went out on your own and you built something. And I got to be around other people that had built businesses. So I liked that I could go work really hard, that I could go mow a lawn or shovel a driveway or do something and get paid for it. I had a little lawn business in high school that was making $1,000 a week. When I was 16, 17, 18, I sold that to a landscape company before I left to go to college. So I just always enjoyed that thing. And so for me, it's more that challenge of take an idea and make it work, get paid for it, and then go do it again. That's why I like investing in startups. I could see a point where if I did sell a company for enough money, I would probably go back to do some kind of startup investing, incubator, venture studio kind of work with somebody that helps other businesses get off the ground, just because I've been able to accumulate all kinds of random knowledge about the moving pieces that maybe you don't think about when you have a really cool idea. So that would probably be the next 10 years of just help other people do what I did. I really don't care it's not my goal to be a billionaire. I would like to be comfortable. I'd like to be able to pay my bills. I'd like to have time, freedom of time to be with my family. And I'd like to have kind of a little bit of that hustle startup, get to be in the action type outlet. And I can do that through investing and or starting a company myself.
I've got to equate this to my business because that's what I know. And there's like the fix and flip model where you're buying a horrible thing that there's distress somewhere. There's just a big amount of leverage in rather using debt or this person's situation to buying it low, make it nice, sell it high. And but you have to just keep doing that over and over. Margins are big. Stress can sometimes be high. And some people do that all their life. I would not say that's investing. That's working to do this thing that's going to create a lot of money. How much in what you said in regards, like, similarly, you're buying a business, maybe it's not like falling apart, but like it's young and it may be risky. You make it better and then you sell it for potentially big margins. And I think even earlier in the episode, you were like, we're living off of this exit that we had here, maybe a big check. Are you seeing more residual income type of ventures where there's more passive opportunities?
Yeah, I think there's both. And I actually really like businesses that have the aspect of we're doing projects and we're taking risks and we're trying new things, but I also really love having that underlying recurring revenue. So my current business right now is a SaaS based, like you pay a monthly fee to have access to use the platform. And so anybody that signs up is paying a monthly fee. There's really no upfront costs. We'll do special projects or like special iterations of it for particular companies or verticals if they need some kind of a little bit of a tweak to fit their need. But I do really like the recurring income, passive income once you've built something and set it up. That was one of the beautiful things about the web maintenance is you could sell somebody a thing for $150 a month. They get an hour a month of support. And then you look at the list of customers and look back and say, on average, people that are, even though they're paying for 12 hours of support, 1 hour a month, they really, on average, people used about an hour and a half over the whole year. So there's all kinds of opportunity. Like, people love to pay for peace of mind. We all do it. I think if you have a AAA subscription, you're paying for in case something happens, I know I don't have to worry about it. And so like home warranties or appliance warranties, like we're very much an insurance based company. So anytime you can pay a little extra and have peace of mind that you don't have to worry about something, I think there's a lot of value in those types of businesses. And I love the recurring revenue model stuff.
Yeah, that was a little bit more of a curiosity question. Dan, we are just about out of time. I like to ask this question in regards to final takeaways. It's a little bit cliche, but just anything that you could leave our audience with that you could say, hey, through my experiences as a businessman, my kids are 3 and 5. We went through some infertility issues, all these things that we boiled down. Here's something that I really feel like would help dads encourage, motivate, challenge, and I'll even add one more thing to potentially put into application today or this week?
Oh man.
That's a big one.
And I think I'd have to speak to myself because I'm like, what I'm sitting here thinking is, if my wife ever listens to this or watches this, she's going to be like, "Oh, you do that, huh?" And about
I
like
know.
whatever I say next. So I think the sweetest time and the most valuable time I have is the time that I have with my kids, and they're little and they're growing fast. And it's even my 5-year-old she's going to be with us, what, like 10 or 13 more years, 15 more years tops. A quarter of her life is with us is already over. So I definitely want to be able to spend as much time as I can with them and be fully present and just turn off the tech. Like, it doesn't matter if I make one more sale or have one more dollar. They'd be just as happy swimming in a Holiday Inn swimming pool on vacation as staying at the Ritz or staying on a yacht. They're just happy to be swimming or doing something fun. And I have to remind myself that they just want to be with me. They want me to watch them do their thing and see them twirl or spin. And so just giving myself margin, like building in time. And if you're bad at it, like, I'm good at scheduling meetings. I'm good at being on time to a 10 o'clock meeting, but schedule 5:30 to 8 o'clock, put it in the calendar, block it out. You're unavailable. Just be present. So and that's something I can always get better at. I love those times where I get to play with them, see them, hang out with them, and trying to avoid "Hey, dad's on a call, please be quiet," and saying that over and over again, where they just learn, "Hey, dad doesn't want to be around me." Like I think to this point, I've done a good job of not letting that consume me or take over. But it's something I care very much that, like, they know when I'm here, I'm available, I'm present, I can be with them, and then just turning off and removing the other distractions so that I can be fully there and not be constantly looking at my watch or my phone or something else.
I think you're the first one. I've interviewed like 67 people now. Say, this is really just advice for me. This is what I know my wife's going to hear this, and I'm going to be challenged myself on that. That's absolutely true. It's not like any of us as dads have arrived. We are all a work in progress. And I think what matters is that we are in it. We are in the game. We are trying. We are learning. We're adapting. We're using the skills from our business world to implement, and even in light of, like you said, scheduling things. Thanks so much for sharing everything, Dan. Hey, if our audience wanted to follow Supermoon or what you're doing, what would be the best way for them to track what you're up to?
Yeah, our website's getsupermoon.com. I think that's our handle on LinkedIn and Instagram, so they can definitely follow Supermoon there. Personally, if anyone wants to reach out, LinkedIn is always a great one. Daniel Dye on LinkedIn, and Supermoon. I'm attached to the company there. Happy to connect, happy to answer questions. If anybody needs support application for their business, let me know.
10-4. Thank you, Dan.
Awesome.